After 8 years of trading crypto, I've managed to get to the point where if I want to, can stop working at any point. And that's a very fortunate position to be in. There's a lot of luck and hard work involved, but if I were to isolate one skill that's been the absolute most important to get here is the ability to take hits and continually get back up. But there's nuance within that. You don't just take the hits and get back up. You take the hits, learn why you took the hit, and then get back up. But it's hard to learn from other people's mistakes because most people don't share them. You just see the end result, their wealth now, their success now, their success along the way, but not the big hits that I promise you everyone has taken. You don't go this many years through trading without making some big mistakes. So today I'm going to share my biggest mistakes and the key lessons I took away from each one. So I was really fortunate coming into investing and trading because my background is mathematics. I studied mathematics, statistics focused at university, and that put me in a position where I understood percentages really well. Not in some super advanced way. I'm not talking about multivariate analysis. I'm talking about simply understanding the way numbers go up and down. And I knew that the most important thing at every point was to limit my downside. So even when I made my dumbest mistakes, I somewhat managed to limit the amount it would affect my total portfolio. And that's the number one reason I've managed to get to where I am right now. Put aside even learning from my mistakes, it's making sure no one mistake ruins me. And that's already something you need to take away right now. It's no matter how much money you make, if you haven't solidified and integrated that lesson into your life, you're done. I repeat this again. I've seen countless, and I use the word countless literally because I cannot count how many times I've heard stories of people going from 0 to 7 or 8 figures and back down. I can count the number of times I've seen it happen to 9 and back down, which is 3 times total, maybe 4. And what you need to take away from that is that no matter how much you make, if you cannot mitigate your downside, you can lose it all. You can go up to 250 mil, and within a month, you can be 50K in debt if you do not have the ability to mitigate that risk. So in 2017, that was my first bull market. Like a lot of other people, I was making a lot of money. All I had to do was buy any cryptocurrency and eventually it would go up. I would have some sort of risk controls in place where I'd use a stop loss and I'd make sure no one asset would be too much of my net worth at any one point. This worked at the start, but towards the ends, the confidence started going up and up and up because I turned a very small amount of money. I say $500, but really it was anywhere in that range I started with, and then it went up to 1.2 mil was the peak, and that was the first time I'd become a millionaire in my life. It was an overwhelming feeling, and despite myself, I could not stop the ego growing. And wait, actually, the reason my ego grew, and this is really important, is I broke my rules. I broke my rules, I overexposed myself to ICX, and I won. And this is where people really make a huge mistake with their trading and investing journeys. They think if they buy something and it works out and they make a bunch of money, that's it, they're done, it's sorted. Well, I became a millionaire doing that. And you know what happened after? The bad decision to break my rules reinforced the fact that I should break my rules. So you're now way more likely to do the same reckless behavior again. And that's what I did. And after spending, let's say, a year making that initial amount of money, within a month, I lost $400,000. I wiped out a large percentage of my net worth and I was no longer a millionaire. And that taught me one of my most important lessons. Winning at the cost of breaking your rules is not worth it because it reinforces you to break your own rules, to break promises you've made with yourself. Winning via EV negative behavior enforces EV negative behavior. And that means for the rest of your life, you're more likely to do this terrible thing. It may not come to haunt you within the first few years, but 10 years down the line, that sort of behavior can destroy you. And normally it happens much quicker. So after this era, I learned that I don't want to be a gambler. I want to actually learn trading properly. And I managed to build my first system. This happened in 2018, 2019. I was living and breathing altcoins. I was at the charts 24/7. Even while I was out with friends, while I was shopping, whatever I was doing, my phone would constantly be open, alerts would constantly be going off. And I managed to build my first profitable strategy. It was incredible. While everyone else was losing money, I built something that systematically was making me money, and I didn't want to miss a single opportunity. Now, what happened was I got attached to the fact that I had an over 90% win rate with this strategy. And for 3 months, I managed to hold this win rate. I felt like a god, and I did not break my rules once. And I got onto a really long winning streak. I can't remember the exact number of trades, let's say 13 trades in a row, where I hadn't lost a single one. And I didn't want to. At this point, I wanted to hold on to this win streak more than I wanted to make money. I wanted to protect this identity I built, that I cannot lose trades, that I am really clever because I keep making money predicting the right things. And I removed my stop loss once this trade started to go against me. And so I've been trading for 3 months. I managed to wipe out about a month to a month and a half's worth of returns in one trade in 2 hours. So a month and a half of work, of 24/7 work, which for like most people, this is like 6 months of work is all I was doing. I wiped it all out because of one mistake, and that is getting attached to my win rate, associating my sense of self-worth with my trading and my win percentage. And that really taught me that it's just as important to not get happy about your wins as it is to not get sad about your losses or fearful because of your losses. Wins, in fact, for me personally, are more dangerous than losses. And you'll see a theme here because with the previous one, again, it was I won by overexposing myself to ICX, which then caused me to do something stupid. So let's fast forward now to 2021. So 2018, 2019, and 2020, I am honing my trading skills. This is the sharpest I have ever been on lower time frames. I am absolutely printing, and it's a bear market. And then suddenly DeFi summer comes around and the bull market starts building momentum. And the same strategies I was using before now have way more trade opportunities and also zero liquidity issues. So I can take large position sizes and not really suffer slippage, get in and out of my positions super easily. I am printing. I have never even mentioned how much money I was making online because it will make it seem unrealistic. It was so easy to be printing money at that point. I was making over 20 times the returns I was making in the bear market every single week. And naturally, again, the overconfidence kicks in, but this time it takes on a different flavor, a different form. I think that because I'm good at this one area of crypto, because I spent 3 years honing this skill, I'm going to be good at everything. So NFTs start getting popular, and I have no skills there, no network there. I just have general trading skills, which sure will make me better than the average person in that, but I should have just stayed 100% focused on my trading, fine tweaked and optimized that, where instead of 20x a week, I could get myself up to 30x or 40x or even 50x, just doubling, tripling down on that one thing. But I didn't know what I know now then. So instead, I diversify my attention. In fact, it got really boring. It got really boring trading the same coins because I was just doing the same thing again and again and again, and it was really, really easy. So I get into NFTs and I invested 50K into a project, and the worst thing that could possibly happen happened. I made $200,000 of profit on that NFT. So you can guess what happened next. I thought, okay, cool. Then my trading skills apply to everything, not just altcoins, but also NFTs, because I just made money on it. So I went harder into NFTs, made some money, lost some money. Overall, I came out minus 350K off of NFTs. More important than the money that I lost on NFTs, it was that I spent so much time on them, so much brain power that just could have gone to my trading that was printing for me. That's all I should have been focused on. And this has been one of my most important lessons ever. It's something I carry with me to this day. It's not to try to do too many things at once. It's better to do one thing really, really well than spread your attention thin. Because if you can easily make money spreading your attention, that means other people could probably easily make money doing that as well. And money-making opportunities over time, they dry up. They're not going to last forever. So you want to find the ones that are really hard to get into, because the harder they are to get into, the more focus they require, the harder it is for other people to get into it. If you can kind of make money off it using half your attention, I promise you, you're not that special. Other people can do the same. Now, this is a little outside of trading. So I've cheated a little bit here because it took a lot longer for me to fully learn the focus lesson. Because not too long after this loss, what happened was someone who I trusted came to me with a six-figure investment opportunity. But it was in an industry I was really unfamiliar with. And the people who I spoke to about this investment, they were super charismatic. They came across really well. They told me everything sounds great, looks great. And we agreed an investment plan where I just invest in them every month for like 6-7 months. And they kept telling me everything's going amazing. We're going to make great returns. Things are looking great. And the second I made the last payment, excuses as to why this isn't going to work, what's going wrong, and to this day, I've seen zero return on this investment, 340k lost, and the main lesson is don't invest in industries you're unfamiliar with, even if you trust someone, because as a system, that does not work. The only thing you can truly rely on is your own expertise and knowledge. You can have faith in that. But someone else, there's so many things that could be going on in their head. You don't know what their processes are. You don't know if they've learned all the lessons you've learned through your journey. And because of that, if you want to avoid making the same mistakes again and again, don't invest in things you do not understand, specifically via third parties. That was another big one I'd learned a lot from, but we still haven't got to my biggest loss ever. Now, my biggest loss ever was somewhat similar in that I trusted someone a lot. Now, I had spoken with this person since 2018. We weren't very close, but they'd actually bet on me a few times. They'd given me advice. I looked up to them. I thought they were a genius, and their persona was spotless. They came across as the most virtuous, high-integrity person you could possibly encounter. And actually, the whole world thought this, not just me, because they were a public person. And they also ran an exchange. The exchange was called FTX. And I trusted them. I used the platform. I, in fact, trusted them so much more than every other crypto platform that the entirety of my non-cold storage crypto was on this platform. And because it was the bull market, there was so much liquidity that I was constantly trading, and I couldn't find any DEXs I liked. So of course I'm using a centralized exchange, and only one. So the entirety is concentrated on FTX. And when they went under, a week before, stuff started to look fishy. People were talking about FTX having issues, not being liquid, etc. I just brushed it right off. I'm like, I've known this person since 2018. He's so virtuous. He's so nice. He's so humble. There's no way this could possibly go up in flames or be wrong, incorrect, etc. And of course, even when the warning signals were there, even when I had opportunity to remove my funds from the platform, I didn't. I left it all on there. It was the biggest hit I'd ever taken in my life. And it taught me a lot of lessons. And now actually a lot of those funds have been returned because bankruptcy went really well. But I say this from the bottom of my heart. If I'd gotten zero back from FTX, it was still one of the best things to ever happen to me. And I have friends who went through the same thing with me who say the exact same thing. I learned so much from that event. And the first lesson I learned from all of this is I had personally put SBF on a pedestal because he held traits that I find really admirable. He was extremely high integrity and humble. These are things that I personally am drawn to. Now, you guys see this in my content. I don't like to flex wealth. It's not a trait I aspire to. And that's something he did fantastically despite having way more financial success than I did. Dude was worth billions at the age of 27. I'd interviewed him multiple times as well. And the way he operated and executed seemed like he was extremely efficient. Another trait I really look up to and admire. He also had an insane trading background and was a fantastic trader. So, in every way, I felt there was something I needed to and should learn from this person, and he was doing everything I wanted to be doing. So, I put him on a pedestal, and when all the bad information came out, my cognitive dissonance, my mind, couldn't really see the truth of what was happening. So, this isn't to say, don't trust anyone, because that's a terrible way to live life. It's better to trust and have your trust broken a few times than to not trust at all, because it's cold, lonely, and the world becomes worse. But it's also important to not put people on pedestals and make them immune to scrutiny. That's a really big one. Don't make people immune to scrutiny just because you admire them or have seen a long track record. That gives them the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't make them immune to scrutiny to the point where when I have no reason not to move my funds off of the platform, I don't do it because of that admiration for this person. And outside of this, a secondary lesson was also not concentrating wealth in one location. There's absolutely no reason not to, with everything, remove single points of failure. So don't keep all your money on one bank account. There is just no need. Sure, it's very low probability that anything's going to go wrong. But in the UK, for example, every bank account's insured up to, this number changes and I don't live in the UK anymore, but it used to be about $75,000, might be 150K, I can't remember, but it's insured to a certain amount. Once you hit that amount, why wouldn't you just open another bank account? And if you've got way more money than you can really spread around like that, still just have free bank accounts. If you invest in stocks, have more than one brokerage that you use. You get my point with this. And yeah, those are my biggest losses. But yeah, it's always difficult to share your losses, especially to thousands of people. But I hope you gain value out of this and you can maybe avoid a few of the mistakes I've had to make along the way. In the comments, if you've made it this far, share with me your biggest mistakes and what you learned from them.